It happened in a heartbeat. Guy's blade glinted, heading straight for the back of Chloe's neck at supernatural speed. Even with my perception enhanced 1,000,000 times, I couldn't move. But then, a clear tone echoed. Chloe had blocked him. Guy just laughed.
You ain't too shabby yourself. Your name's Chloe, then. There's only a very few people who can use that power, myself included.
If you're enjoying this kind of deep dive, subscribing helps cover the AI generation rendering and editing time that keep the project moving. It is free, and it really does help. The summit with the Demon Lords has mercifully ended, but the real trouble was only just beginning. It would have been great if the summit had mercifully ended right there, but we were still not done with everything. Leon rumbled a warning.
Rimuru, let me give you a word of warning. Carrera, formerly known as Jean, is the kind of short-tempered demon who would freely lob nuclear magic around if she is seized by the impulse. You had best keep her on a short leash, or else the capital you took great pains to build will become a pile of ash.
Luminus chimed in.
That is right. And let me just add this. As mentioned earlier, the Violet I know is a malicious, moody individual, the living embodiment of brutality. Unlike the monster races, she does not seek to eradicate the human race, but she is fickle, prone to quickly change her mind on matters. Perhaps she is pretending to be a nice young lady in front of you, but I would be very hesitant to let my guard down.
Their advice did not put my mind at ease much, and although they did not spell it out, it sounded like Testarossa was even more trouble than Carrera and Ultima. This was starting to look like bad news. Well, starting to was not the right way to put it, maybe. More like it was bad news, and I had finally just noticed. I now knew Testarossa and the others were primal demons, and I had just been told by my Demon Lord peers that they were my problem. If they ever did anything, it would be my fault, and while they were technically serving under Diablo, blaming him would get me nowhere. I had even told Elmezia I would take care of them, so I could not just rescind my offer. I wanted to go back in time and punch my dull-minded self, but that is what I get for being so thoughtless, I suppose. It would be a lot harder to manage these guys than all of human society, and the thought made me let out a surreptitious, depressed sigh. Then Ramiris, Deeno, and Veldora got to their feet, as if waiting for Guy to wrap up.
You know, we feel kinda in the way here, so we'll let you all take care of the rest, okay?
Deeno jumped in right after her. Yeah, I've got some important work to do. Vester's waiting for me and stuff, so I'll catch you later, Guy. Veldora boomed his own excuse with entirely too much confidence.
Indeed. And in that case, I will go back to my dungeon guardian duties. Ah, a dragon's work is never done.
They worked as a well-practiced, synchronized team, clearly trying their best to get the hell out of Dodge. Deeno, in particular, was so eager to not get yelled at any longer that he brought up his totally non-existent work ethic. Guy did not overlook that either.
Huh? Work? You? That joke's not even funny.
Ramiris was ready with a retort.
No, he's telling the truth! Deeno's my assistant now. I'm serious.
Guy's eyebrows arched in surprise. He was not about to believe anything Deeno said, but if Ramiris backed him up, he had no choice.
Deeno is working? What foul magic did you cast upon him, Rimuru?
His amazement was now pointed my way. It was a tough question to answer. I said aloud, I don't know. But in our nation, the rule is that you gotta sing for your supper, and I'm just having him follow that. There's no spells involved. If I had a spell like that, I would have a lot less trouble. It must have come out in my tone of voice because Guy did not push the topic any further. So Ramiris and her two cohorts scurried out of the chamber. They had just finished the tea and snacks Shuna set out for them, so their timing was impeccable. I would expect nothing less from them, Guy muttered after them.
Fine then. I've given my complaints to Deeno. Hopefully he'll try to bring me some useful information for a change.
Again, I really wished he would not muse like that when I was in the same damn room. Being so blatantly alerted about spies in my midst kind of made things hard to deal with. Not that I could tell Guy to knock it off. Might as well look on the bright side, though. It sure beat probing each other out under the table. So I changed the topic. Great. So did you come all the way here just to ask about Testarossa and the other Primal Demons? If that was all, Guy would have been heading home by now. But he was not, so there must have been something else. I really did not want yet more problems to deal with, but we would not be getting anywhere unless I asked.
That was on my mind, yes, but I have another question.
Guy reclined in his seat, looking at the rest of us before settling upon Leon.
I just had an encounter with a group that called themselves the Moderate Jesters.
Oh?
Guy asked Leon.
That is the group you had dealings with, isn't it?
It is.
Leon nodded. Hang on, he just casually confirmed Guy's suspicions, but that was pretty damn important. I asked Guy, wait, so did you see Yuuki too?
Mm-hmm.
Not long ago, I ordered Soe to examine the Free Guild headquarters and its regional branches. I was pretty sure our encounter yesterday was not planned by Yuuki, so I figured he would pop back to his own headquarters. I doubted he would make much of a public presence, so I had Soe's forces stake out likely guild sites, keeping an eye out for disguises or stand-ins. For the time being, I had not heard anything, but I never thought Yuuki would run into Guy instead. I pressed him. So are you connected to Yuuki then?
Huh? Don't be silly. They were trying to flee to the east, so I spanked them a little for it.
I suspected Gay and Yuuki might be in cahoots, but I guess not. That was a relief, but it still did not indicate what Gay was after. Leon asked.
You didn't kill him?
I was curious about that myself, but moreover, was he saying that Yuuki abandoned his positions in the west and tried to flee eastward? He never struck me as the type to shy away from making big moves. But this was an incredibly bold decision, even for him. Too bad he was unlucky enough to draw Guy's ire. If he spanked him, I assumed murder was not on the menu, but he sure must have put him through the ringer. Not that I felt bad for Yuuki, he deserved it.
No, I didn't kill him. At first I thought I'd capture him and make you owe me a favor, but things changed.
Guy proceeded to tell me how his encounter with Yuuki turned out. Now we had a clearer, albeit still vague, idea of what he was up to when nobody was looking. He was the main employer and boss of the Moderate Jesters, proving Raphael correct. So we went over everything, good or bad, Yuuki had been up to. 1, he developed the Society of Adventurers into the Free Guild. 2, he built connections to the Razos, de facto rulers of the council, and handled their dirty work, including being an intermediary to Leon. 3, he backed Clayman as a demon lord, even controlling him behind the curtain. 4, he crushed the Echidna Club, the shady group that presided over the Eastern Empire underground, and created the secret Cerberus Society to replace it. In public society, he created the Free Guild. Outside of it, he was an organized crime leader. The Echidna Club was news to me, but it sounded like a pretty gigantic presence in the underworld, and that info came from Leon, so there was no doubting it. The Orthrus slave market that Masayuki broke up, by the way, was an affiliate of Cerberus, so I was sure Yuuki had a hand in that too. The pattern seemed to indicate that Yuuki had a knack for crushing existing organizations and taking them over for himself. Sounded easy enough, but it was incredibly difficult to put into practice, and he had done it all in under 10 years. Talented was not the half of it. Calling him a genius was no exaggeration at all. Still, I did not like how overly self-confident he was. No matter how talented you were, failing to accurately judge your opponent's strength was a serious mistake. One look at Guy should have taught you how much trouble he was. Yuuki managed to escape this time, though. If I had to say one positive thing about him, it was his incredible good luck. Learning he was alive left me with mixed feelings. We shared a homeland after all, and I did not actually want him to die or anything. But at the same time, I could not just let everything he did slide. He pretended to be this nice, affable guy, but meanwhile he was using the Razo family and even Leon as his pawns. That, and he sent the Moderate Jesters to drag Hinata and me into battle. Even worse, this was all for the sake of world conquest, a dream too childish for me to laugh at. So why did Guy let Yuuki go? I decided to ask him point blank. If he answered me, then hey, win-win. All right, so if you let him escape, then what could possibly be your plan?
Oh, it's all just a game.
He deadpanned it. I was not sure what game meant in this context, but he ignored my suspicions. As he put it, the Eastern Empire was bound to make a move soon, and Yuuki had offered to go in and sabotage things if Guy spared his life. So it sounds like you don't want the Western nations to fall. But why? I had been wondering about that, but Guy's reply was even more surprising.
Because it's my job to manage them so they don't fall. I mean, I don't want too many humans around there, but regardless. My final mission, you know, is to put all of humanity under the rule of the Demon Lords.
That, I surmised, was the game Guy alluded to. And once his rule was complete, so was his victory. Well, I mean, why'd you have Lady Maziri try to wreck the council then? If she killed all the counselors just when the East was on the attack, the Western nations would be at a deadly disadvantage. None of the countries could work with one another. The battle could have been over before it began. Guy chuckled at the question.
Just Maziri is fine. I gave Maziri permission to unite the West into a single entity.
What was that supposed to mean? Raphael answered inside my mind.
Understood. He presumably wanted to spread terror across the West, making it easier for you to rule over it.
So was it like this then? A demon lord massacres the council, everyone is panic-stricken, then I lend a hand and they all eagerly agree to my protection? If a few people had to die for it, then oh well?
Understood. Presumably so.
I see. It was pretty extreme. A bit like starting a fire so you could be the hero who put it out, and I felt Guy and Maziri had different motives, but they did it all for me? Or not. Maybe he just wanted to take advantage of me so I could manage the Western nations for him. What he did not know was that I had already made some deep inroads in the West. I did not think quite this far ahead, but with Testarossa's support, I pretty much had the council in my pocket. But Guy was not out to destroy humanity, quite the opposite. He wanted to appropriately manage those fools so they did not kill themselves off. And if I took up that job, Guy could not ask for anything better. It was exactly what he wanted, really. One thing I definitely understood about Guy now, he was way too sketchy with his work. I had to admit I could probably handle this better than him. Okay, so you don't have any issue with me basically having total control of the West?
Not at all. As long as some fool doesn't get cocky and kick up a fuss, I have no complaints.
Great then. This was turning into a much shorter process than I expected. But if that was how the chips fell, then I might as well take over Western nations management. In that case, I'll be glad to accept. And since I am, I'd appreciate it if you could quit messing around in northern Anglecia. From what others had told me, one of Guy's underlings enjoyed causing havoc up north on regular occasions. Razul was the guardian up there, and Shion had just done a fine job killing him, unfortunately. Given the state of emergency, Elmesia of Thalion had sent a team of Magus Knights over to keep the peace. It would not be right of me to thank her for that exactly, but it would be incredibly selfish to tap her armies again for the same thing. If I was going to rule the Western nations, it was up to me to defend them, and that meant a lot of money I would have to waste on a defense budget. I really wanted to avoid that. The world's not exactly crawling with talent like Razul. Diablo smirked at me, banishing all my concerns.
No need to worry about that. We can leave such trivial matters to Testarossa as well.
Before I could ask if that was really okay, Guy agreed with him.
Right, yeah, the guys up there could use a breather anyway, I'm sure. Let them all do what they like.
It made me think about just how inscrutable the thoughts of demons were to normies like me. So as Diablo suggested, I let Testarossa handle all the demon activity in Anglecia. I had a pledge from Guy, and I figured that would stave off any conflict before it started. I was thus now the ruler of the West. But we still had a few loose ends to tie up. Luminus's question reminded me of that other issue.
So, Rimuru, can I leave you responsible for the Eastern Empire?
Well, if you're saying that the Empire's making a move, do you mean militarily speaking? I wanted to ask just in case. Guy gave me a nod like this was the dumbest question in the world. Hinata explained it to me.
Lately, the Empire's been conducting a rash of military exercises. It was brought up in the council, too.
If she was aware of it, she must have already come up with some countermeasures. I did not think the Empire was going to stage an army invasion. The 3 routes they had to choose from were all forbiddingly difficult to conquer, so it did not seem like a realistic choice. There was too little merit in the Empire aiming for the West, unless they did not care about the casualties. staging an invasion at the end of it is meant to be a profitable enterprise. You do not have food or resources or a place to live, so you strike at other nations that do. But if you solve your own problems, there is no longer any need to risk bloodshed. Of course, it is never that easy to solve problems. There is no reason for a wealthy nation to bust their hump over a poor one, so if they are asked to, there is the seed of a conflict right there. That is why wealthy nations keep a standing army to defend themselves. It is important to make would-be invaders think they will not have an easy victory. Nobody is going to dirty their hands with war if the profit is not worth shedding blood over. But why else would people want to go into war? Raphael supplied the answer.
Understood. Because of a firm belief they will win no matter what.
That was all I could think of. I controlled the council, so I could not imagine one of its members betraying me. Maybe then the East developed some amazing new military tech, or a battle strategy like none before, or some other ace in the hole. Hinata?
I know. You asked me about the structure of the Dwarven Kingdom earlier. Well, it's not impossible to march an army through it.
She wasted no time picking up on my intentions. The Dwarven Kingdom was neutral, and I doubted Gazel would give them permission to pass, but that was the safest route an army could take to invade the West. In fact, I dismissed the notion at first, but is there a chance they'd attack Dwargon first?
How shameless. You asked me to investigate that question because you thought so, didn't you?
Oh, was Hinata praising me? I had only thought of that just now, but well. Let's roll with it. You knew, huh? Well, if the possibility's there, let's tackle it, I say. I resolved to contact Gazel and work out a plan. It would be much more than an annoyance if it happened. A real disaster, in fact. But it was not something we could wish away. With Tempest now holding the Council's military power, it was our duty to bear the full brunt of combat. Guy sounded like it was none of his business now.
If you weren't around, it would have been Granville and Luminus facing off against the Empire.
But the size of the Empire's force was a question mark, and in that scenario it would be the Razzo's combined armies, Hinata's Crusaders, and the Lubelia's standing force fending it off. No matter who won, it did not matter to Guy. So why did he take Yuki's offer then? I could only surmise that he had his own motivations. I suppose that strange word, game, was the key to understanding that, but it was not like he would give me a straight answer. Hinata said,
I'll provide support too, but don't expect me to take orders from you, all right?
I could understand that. Hinata had no reason to oversee the front lines herself. I'm still not exactly sure if this'll turn into war, but we'll figure out something. Hinata, you guys should prepare in case the Empire completely bamboozles us with their invasion.
Roger that. And we'll take care of any of their agents disguised as merchants.
Her smile was a little frightening as she accepted. But this was fine. Now I did not have to ask for anything. Luminus sounded troubled.
Rimuru, if you are defeated, it will come down to us to fight. I advise you to do whatever it takes for that not to happen.
I could believe it. Between accounting for casualties and repairing their destroyed cathedral, Luminus was in no shape to focus on a war. I should have been happy I got Hinata's support at least. I let the worry slip out. My main concern is whether I can get Yuki's cooperation. Shion noticed what was weighing on me.
Are you worried about us, Sir Rimuru?
Shion could be sharp like that sometimes. I would not even say anything and she could see exactly what conflicted me. Well, kind of. I'm not about to start trusting him out of the blue given everything that's happened so far. In fact, I could not trust him at all. And if a war suddenly broke out, there was nothing you could count on less than an ally you could not trust. Guy carelessly added,
Now that Yuki's gone, I've got no idea how he'll move. Not that I care, really. If you can handle all that for me, then perfect.
Hearing that made me decide, finally, that counting Yuki as part of my force was hard to picture. Diablo gave a delighted little laugh and offered,
Then I will ask Zoe to examine his movements, and only examine them.
If you could, please. That was enough about Yuki for now. We would have to see how things went. At the very least, I was not gonna get all buddy-buddy without an apology. We were running a country here, so depending on what he did, I could imagine us patching things up. But I was not broad-minded enough to forgive him in exchange for nothing. Are you good with this, Shion?
Of course. I'll crush him if he opposes you, and if he reconciles with you, I'll forgive him after I punch him out.
Just don't kill him when you do, I said to myself. Although if she did, I would chalk that up as an accident. Yuuki did not want to kill me or Shion, so I could guarantee it was not on purpose. So we shunted the question of Yuuki to the future. Guy had one more thing on his mind. The main thing, in fact. It was about the hero Chloe.
I know that Granville's mission was to unlock the thing Luminus here was trying so hard to hide in her domain. I was watching to make sure that thing didn't go out of control, but Diablo was all, just leave it to Rimuru, so...
So he decided to travel here to see how things were turning out. When did Diablo say that anyway? Then I remembered. Diablo did run off for a bit during battle, did he not? He must have been doing a little unauthorized negotiating. I could not say I liked that, but it turned out to be a masterstroke. If Guy had gotten involved in that fight, there was no telling what could have happened. We were talking about that a moment ago, actually, but now that you're here, why don't I summarize things for you? I decided to take control of the summit and go over everything one more time. I did not think Leon and Luminus would say anything I did not want them to, but still, just in case. The really important stuff, Chloe's time travel, the countless loops she had made, that was all best left hidden. Besides, as long as I did not tell Guy, he had no way of knowing. So we defeated the Berserk Chronoa, and that settled things for good. My story thus wound up pinning most of the blame on Chronoa, but I only did it to protect Chloe. If I started talking about how Chloe was Chronoa, it would just make things more complicated, so I wanted to keep that a secret from Guy.
All right. Quite a tough battle, it sounds like. So can I ask you something?
Sure. Anything.
That girl over there's clearly a hero. Mind giving me an explanation?
Oof. I tried to hide that, but Guy was just too smart to fool. Well, in that battle, a hidden force within this girl woke up. I attempted a believable, if wholly absurd, story. Guy cut me off immediately.
You liar.
So much for that. It certainly made for a classic fantasy, discovering your powers in the heat of battle. But the excuse had no chance of working. To tell the truth, Leon stepped in as I hesitated.
Chloe here is the exact person I spent years searching for with my targeted summoning. She happened to be there for some reason, and thanks to that, we were all saved.
I had no idea where Leon was going with this, but if I wanted to slog through it, I had no choice but to follow his lead. Luminus added her own take to the story before I could speak up.
Indeed. I was quite surprised as well, but this Chloe turned out to be the most suitable sealing vessel.
So it was up to me to tie it all together then? Guy looked right at me, quizzical.
Sealing vessel?
That was what I wanted to ask, but by now there was no chance we could be honest with him. I had to keep going. Yeah, the way Leon described it, she's got this unique ability to steal any target's power and seal it within herself. I could hardly believe it, but we've got the results right before our eyes, so I kinda have to. How was that, huh? And I even passed it to Leon. It was his turn to take over, but Luminus was quicker.
You are absolutely correct. Now I am afraid to say I have lost my most prized of hidden weapons, but I suppose I can accept that over an uncontrollable death machine on the rampage.
She seemed embittered, truly embittered. It was an A-list performance. I almost wanted to applaud her. Now Leon just had to wrap it up.
I can see why. Guy, there are many powerful forces in the world, yourself included. I wanted to protect Chloe against these advancing threats, but I never thought she'd use her force right after I met her. I am just as unlucky here.
Leon sighed. His depression hardly seemed contrived at all. If Luminus won the Best Actress award, he would be sharing the stage as Best Actor. Regardless, we now had a coherent story. Chloe sealed Chronoa away, and thus she had obtained the powers of a hero.
You three aren't trying to trick me, are you?
Not at all. Leon agreed without missing a beat.
You've always been too doubtful of others.
Luminus joined in.
Indeed. Stop fretting over trivialities.
We all swarmed upon Guy's doubt in unison. Such instant teamwork was the result, I supposed, of how much we all cherished Chloe.
But you see she's obtained hero powers, don't you? Are you just going to leave her be?
Leon rose from his seat. Guy added with a laugh.
Don't worry. I'm not going to touch her.
Fine then. If you were ever to threaten her, you'll have to address me first. Furtan.
Leon sat back down. Things were tense in the chamber now, but Guy was not being the least bit hostile. I too was worried Leon might try something unadvised, but he was surprisingly calm. That reassured me well enough, but the next moment I was chilled to the bone. A sword glinted. In Guy's hand was a long sword, produced from parts unknown, and it was now heading straight for the back of Chloe's neck. The speed of his technique was nothing short of supernatural. My perception speed, enhanced 1,000,000 times over, told me I would still never make it in time. And the same was true for Leon and Luminus. Our faces twisted in horror as we tried to turn away from the tragedy about to unfold. But the next moment, a clear tone echoed across the chamber. My mind froze. The little Chloe had now grown and was wielding a sword nobody saw her unsheath to take the force of Guy's blow. Her very clothing had transformed to that of the hero. She had mastered the use of Holy Spirit armor as if it came naturally to her. The adult Chloe greeted him with eerie calm. "Hello to you, Demon Lord Guy. This is the first time I've seen you in the flesh. You're quite powerful indeed." Guy laughed.
You ain't too shabby yourself. Your name's Chloe, then. There's only a very few people who can use that power, myself included.
Guy and Chloe congenially greeted each other, but I found myself unable to remain calm. I simply had no idea what just happened. Even with my super-enhanced perception, I missed it. Clearly, this was not some chintzy old hyperspeed move. The air around them was not even vibrating. It was magic, or something else. And at a time like this, I had the perfect partner to help out. Raphael, your commentary, please.
Report. Unknown. Analysis and assessment of the subject Chloe Obert's actions failed.
Really? It was rare for Raphael to say, "I dunno," like that. Whether through prediction or calculation, it would always provide me with some kind of information. If it had nothing to offer, then what just happened really was beyond the realm of understanding. In other words, nothing I could handle. I looked around, surprised, trying to gauge everyone's reactions. Leon and Luminus seemed just as freaked out as me, not angry about Guy's behavior so much as trying their hardest to grasp what had just unfolded. Everyone else in the room? Forget it. They did not even see the swords move. This was way beyond their comprehension. Diablo at least was visibly surprised. Maybe something about this encounter was familiar to him. Resolving to ask him later, I decided to stop Guy and Chloe. The latter was already readying her own attack, all but declaring the next move for herself. They seemed so friendly with each other a moment ago. Why was all this happening? They clashed swords several more times. They were single strikes, not part of a combo. It was like watching a photographic sequence of a sword fight, one stance after the next, I think. And really, I think was about the best I could do. I threw myself between them. Stop! Stop! It was a wager, based on my guess of where the next strike was, and apparently it paid off.
Whoa, don't just butt in. I could have ripped you apart if we got that wrong.
The adult Chloe answered brightly. Yeah, Rimuru. Guy wasn't serious, he was just testing me. But I'm glad you're concerned for me. Chloe then pulled me into a hug and kissed me on the cheek. Again, it was like a jump cut. One frame, then the next. I had no chance of dodging it. Let me just say it was like an act of God, an irresistible force. Then, the moment she gave that kiss, Chloe shrank down, or really, returned to regular old kid Chloe. Bright red and quivering, she blurted, "Ugh, why'd you have to hug and kiss Rimuru like that?" I asked. "Was that Chronoa just now?" Chloe explained. Yeah, she switched with me. As she explained it, Chloe withstood the first attack, but Chronoa took over after that. They looked exactly the same, so it was a little hard to tell. Leon waited for Chloe to calm down and then picked her up.
Rimuru, I appreciate you stepping in to help Chloe, but I can't allow you to get any more familiar with her.
Chloe protested as he put her back in her seat. Oh, come on, Leon, you worry too much about me. Leon fixed Guy with an icy glare.
Guy, I thought you weren't going to touch her.
Yeah, sorry, just wanted to test her out a bit. I wasn't gonna kill her, of course.
Regardless, you may not want to kill someone, but your power's beyond any measure.
Leon seemed pretty bent out of shape, uninterested in letting Guy have his way. In another moment, the verbal tirade began. It took Chloe herself intervening to end it, explaining that Guy did not intend to hurt her and that she wanted to test him out as well. It looked like she got a little carried away too. It was not strictly Guy's fault. If I had to guess, I would say Chloe or Chronoa wanted to gauge the strength of Guy, the man who likely caused her death in the future. But what happened just now was not the future she experienced. She had a new power this time, the ultimate skill Yog-Sothoth, Lord of Time if I recall, and I was sure she wanted to see if it would work on Guy. Raphael interrupted my thoughts with a new possibility.
A new possibility has arisen. If the powers of the unique skill time travel, when merged with the ultimate skill Yog-Sothoth, allow the subject Chloe Aubert to control time itself, then analyze and assess will always fail, since it cannot evaluate phenomena separate from its own timeline.
Oh, was that it? So Chloe's new ability basically let her stop time. Raphael was currently doing assessment work on time travel, but reportedly it would take a while to finish up. It sounded like Chloe just inserted that unique skill straight into Yog-Sothoth. I was sure it was hard to understand data you could not even measure, but regardless, Chloe had made it her own. Astounding as it was, stopping the flow of time felt like such a cheat. No wonder my sped-up senses could not track her. If we were all letting time flow around us, there was no way we could observe something frozen in that dimension. But hang on. Assuming that theory was correct, if someone could not access a world frozen in time, there was no way for them to interact with someone who was in that world, right?
Understood. This interpretation seems correct.
Oh man. Part of me wanted to hope that, and it seemed like the only logical answer. I mean, even Chronoa was killed by Guy once, but if she could stop time, she was untouchable. It made perfect sense. Conversely, did that mean Chloe could fend off Guy? She was just a cute little girl, and really, she was stronger than me even. When it dawned on me, I broke into a cold sweat that nobody else noticed. Either way, Leon backed down and peace prevailed once more. Leon sat down, making it clear he would not allow that a second time.
You value Ramiris a great deal, and I value Chloe a great deal. I'd advise you to make a note of that.
Luminus added her own warning.
As would I. Guy, I will freely recognize you as the strongest of all, but losing our help would only harm you in the long run, no? If you do intend to antagonize us, that is a different story. But you should know that we will both treat any attack on Chloe as a hostile act.
Luminus must have been pretty pissed herself, rebuking Guy right alongside Leon. In situations like these, it was usually a bad idea to specify what was valuable to you. But with Guy, the opposite was true. If Guy really wanted to be hostile, there was nothing you could do. That was why they both overtly told him to lay off Chloe.
All right, I'm not here to start trouble, okay? Just stay out of my way and I'm not gonna touch anything you hold dear, you know?
Guy, to his credit, acted sensibly about it, promising he would keep Chloe safe. And the fact that this precious little girl was far stronger than all of us was something I decided to keep to myself. The summit came to a close in the evening. Shuna prepared dinner for us, so we moved over to the banquet hall. I could not help but notice that nobody seemed in a hurry to leave until we had finished the meal. The main dish was a stew of cubed pork, or some kind of monster's meat that resembled pork, accompanied by fried eggplant, tofu with thick pancake sauce, and miso soup. This all came with steamed, fluffy, jet black rice, the black spell rice we stumbled upon a while back. It was not a multi-course meal or anything, but considering this whole summit was not even planned for, I did not want to hear any complaints.
Oh? This isn't tempura.
By the sound of Luminus's grumbling, she must have liked tempura a lot more than I had realized. Hinata had my back, although I could not tell why.
No need to worry, Luminus. This should be even tastier. Never underestimate Rimuru's lust for good food.
I was not even sure if I should be happy about it. Honestly, getting complimented for my love of cuisine did not mean much if that was the only thing about me she was willing to compliment. But whatever. So our little dinner event began. And fortunately, all the guests seemed to enjoy themselves. Guy sounded genuinely impressed.
I see. Yeah, your cuisine around here ain't bad.
Eating everything and not complaining about it was, I suppose, Leon's way of giving a meal high praise.
These flavors mystify me, but at this level I'd say it passes muster.
Luminus seemed satisfied, and Hinata was hyping me up way too much.
You were right after all, Hinata. Another rare and exotic spread, but quite attractive nonetheless.
Ooh, this really takes me back. Being able to taste this one more time. It makes me glad to be alive.
But I suppose this was Hinata's first Japanese-style pork stew in, 2,000 years? I asked Hinata, would you have preferred white rice?
I appreciate the thought, but I'm used to this kind of thing by now.
Oh? Well, good. 2 millennia had given her a lot of time to sample all sorts of stuff, I was sure, so the wrong color was not about to make her wrinkle her nose. Besides, unlike Chloe, Hinata apparently had not been able to actually taste anything she ate during those 2 millennia. All she could see was Chloe's visual feed, so the mere act of eating was a real thrill, considering or even just imagining what she went through. I could see why this was such a divine experience. So the dinner banquet proceeded along to generally good reviews. Once it was over, the demon lords rapidly prepared to head home. They were more than welcome to spend the night, but now that their business was done, they did not seem interested in sticking around. Leon still had not given up by the sounds of things.
Chloe, if you ever get sick of this place, don't be afraid to contact me. I'll come pick you up at once.
We had actually argued a bit about who would take in Chloe. Chloe answered him gently. But my friends are here, and I like Rimuru's place. We wound up respecting Chloe's wishes, but it was safe to assume Leon was not gonna let it rest. He did not even try to hide his attachment to her. I had my reservations about his approach, but there was no doubting his fervent desire to keep her safe and protected. Chloe could feel it too, and she tried to reassure him. Leon, I'm really glad to see you worried so much about me, but you don't need to be all that worried, okay? I'm not a kid anymore. She gave Leon a hug. Leon's face betrayed a gentle smile as he patted Chloe's head. They were raised virtually as siblings way back when, and Leon definitely cherished her. Then she separated from him and shifted into her adult form, showing him directly. Here, see? With Chronoa's power, I can go back to my grown-up self. So quit worrying, all right? She smiled. I assumed she wanted to put Leon's mind at ease, but that smile packed an incredible punch. It was endearing, fleeting in a way, but it revealed all the strength in her heart. There was just that kind of charm to it. Leon chuckled.
All right. You've become such a wonderful woman, but I'm always going to cherish you. You can count on me anytime.
Leon always was a heartthrob like that. He had the composure, you could say, of a grown man, and it suited him well. No way I could even begin to imitate that, I thought as I watched. But then Leon turned around and flashed me a steely glare. The difference was intense.
She says she's a grown-up now. Does that mean you've gone and...
No, of course not. I don't even technically have a gender. Talk about a huge misunderstanding. I took back what I said about his maturity and composure because he certainly did not treat me with any of that. I worked tirelessly to defend myself, and Chloe yelled at him once she caught wind of it, so I figured Leon was sufficiently convinced. Even now, though, it was only that way on the surface. If you want more evidence, I present this little tidbit he whispered to me as he left.
I think you know this, but don't you dare do anything to put Chloe in harm's way, you understand me?
This struck me as overprotective, but then Leon had expended every method possible to search for Chloe, who had been summoned from the same world as him. It made sense that he worried about her. He went on his way without further comment, so I was happy. I promised him that Chloe and I would come visit, and thanks to her, I thought Tempest would be building formal ties with his domain of El Dorado pretty soon. He kind of irritated me sometimes, like a brother-in-law does, I suppose, but I could deal with it. After Leon went on his way, it was Luminus's turn to dote on Chloe.
I suppose you've settled down where you've settled down, Chloe, but to me you are a valued and trusted friend. If you have any difficulty, I will gladly discuss it with you, so do not hesitate to bring it up. Take care.
And this is the sister-in-law, I am assuming? Not that I said that out loud, of course. No need to go out of my way to anger people. With a final farewell, Luminus and her entourage sped off. Hinata was gone too, so that just left Guy by himself. I turned toward him, wondering if he was gonna leave, and there I saw Diablo picking a fight with him. Diablo began as though he had simply been waiting for an opening.
Now, shall I continue my story from before?
Nah, I've heard more than enough of it.
No need to be shy.
Can you stop trying to seduce me with that garbage too?
What the hell was Diablo doing? Diablo clicked his tongue.
Shh. Well, so be it then. Allow me to change the subject. I would love to discuss Testarossa's and my other underlings' work ethic and some amusing anecdotes related to Rimuru. I know you were interested in that.
I was astounded at just how much he wanted to hear his own voice. Guy seemed to agree with me.
No, I'm sure you're all busy right now, so I'll stop by again when things calm down a little.
Guy wasted no time turning him down and fleeing. I guess even Guy got flustered sometimes. It was kind of odd to see. I could not help but feel he was a lot more approachable than I thought. He still kept you on your toes, but maybe I did not have so much to worry about with him anymore. He had accepted Chloe as a hero, and all the other big issues were out of the way. That just left Yuki's next moves as he fled to the east, and what was about to happen over there. Whether I would trust him again, I did not know. But war, huh? I let out a sigh. It was just one thing after another these days. And in my dejection, I could not help but wish for peace as soon as I could grab it. It was only an oral agreement, but gaining the cooperation of 2 more demon lords was enormous. If war really was to erupt, having allied nations on your side was a comfort in itself. I could expect support from them, and if things got really bad, I could even discuss evacuating my citizens to their nations. No war at all would be best, of course, although that depended on the other side's actions. What will be, will be. But whining would not help with anything, so I decided it was time to take action. First, I needed some firm ground to stand on, something that ensured a battle against the Empire would not cause any problems. I secretly resolved to prepare for anything and everything possibly headed our way.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.